I'm Daniel Schaefer. I'm a New York portrait and street photographer, trying to find sort of the most narrative images of a city that otherwise people sort of just stumble past. But the nice thing is I've been living here so long, and I've spent so much time on and off here in the city, that you just start to just want to see these stories and want to share them. New York, especially for a photographer, is a city where you just have density kind of at your side. For the most part, you get sort of that idea of having so many people in so little space, and that sort of constant collision creates stories, creates narratives, and hopefully as photographers we can sort of take advantage of that. Well, so especially if you're trying to tell sort of these sort of cinematic moments, if you're trying to find these stories, having that wide angle gives you the ability to sort of combine subject and scene in a really nice way. For the most part, if you're shooting with a telephoto, you're limited to a single detail. If you're shooting with something kind of super wide, you end up stuck in sort of a rut of only showing the scene and trying to find people balanced within that. 32 is a really nice sort of mid-ground. It gives you a sense that you can actually make meaningful images in a space that you otherwise kind of would be limited by. It's very similar to sort of what our eye sees, not as much as in distance, but in space. So I can walk along and make images in a way that feels natural and normal. When using a lot of other equipment, you run into that sort of limiting factor of a piece of equipment that sees a certain way. This sort of allows you to see however you'd really like to. So working with equipment that's nice and compact gives you this flexibility to be able to carry either a significant amount of equipment if you like, or bring all you need in a relatively small package. I'm definitely a believer in packing light. I'm always going for cameras that are small and powerful and really pack a punch, and that's something that this gives you the ability to, and it gives you all that character in a space where otherwise you're pulling with significantly larger, sort of bulkier vintage optics, and this gives you all that power in a package a quarter the size. It really gives an incredibly smooth background, and that's the sort of thing, especially when you're shooting vintage styled optics, you're looking for something that has some character to it. Now the nice thing is that when you have the coupling of that round aperture with sort of that softer vintage design, you're able to get an incredible amount of detail and then have this beautiful transition from sharp to soft as you go from the eyes of your subject sort of back to the background. The nice thing is you don't get that off of almost any modern lens. Having that coupling of the perfectly circular apertures with that vintage optic really does sing a song. Yeah, so one of the nicest things is it has sort of a pastel look to it. I remember a portrait I shot of my friend Luna, sort of a nice soft sunset in the background, and the blue sky sort of come across as this almost like pastel blue-green that's just absolutely stunning, and just the kind of colors that you don't get off of these sort of digitally designed optics. Using that sort of vintage design gives you this sort of, I wouldn't say advantage, but a color consistency and clarity that you just don't get with modern designs. Well, one of the nice things about sort of these, the Art Lens catalog, is it's giving you a look and a feeling that has sort of been lost by a lot of modern designers. What it comes down to is character. It comes down to the ability to have a package that really gives you these unique and distinct images that you just wouldn't get with any standard camera, and you definitely couldn't get with a phone or something in that range. It's giving you this vintage sensibility, not only in design but also in the way it behaves, that really yields just an absolutely gorgeous setup. Yeah, looking at the LCA sort of family of lenses, it has that unique sort of random, for lack of a better term, characteristics when you put it against light, when you put it against color, but at the same time it has that sort of professional clarity that you're looking for if you're trying to shoot a wedding or a portrait or something like that. But at the same time, I can just as confidently shoot black and white street, shoot color portrait, and it has that sort of language that you just don't get on modern optics, and it gives you that sort of character in a way that really builds out an elegant package no matter what kind of work you're looking to do.